Developing story. The Brooklyn pastor who was robbed of expensive jewelry during a live stream church service has been indicted on federal charges and is now in custody. The U.S. Attorney's Office says Bishop Lamar Whitehead is accused of fraud, extortion, and lying to the FBI. According to the indictment, Whitehead convinced a parishioner to invest $90,000 of her retirement savings with him. He's accused of spending the money on luxury items. Prosecutors say Whitehead extorted $5,000 from another victim and lied to agents about his cell phones.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the quote-unquote bling pastor from Brooklyn, New York City, Lamar Whitehead, being indicted on fraud charges. Now, if you were to ask me, hey, ABL, are you surprised at this? Has this really blown you away, knocked your socks off, made you just be falling into the ground in disbelief? I'd be like, no, not at all. Because first of all, he's already been locked up for this exact same crime back in 2004. He's already been charged with this kind of thing previously, writing bad checks, fraud, misappropriating money. And then the whole thing with the robbery at the church. What was that, last year, a couple years ago, whenever that was? The whole thing with the robbery, they were saying that that could have been staged, right? They were saying it could have been staged to try and collect some money. So I am not surprised at what's going on here, not in the least bit, but I got to report on it because it is a story. The robbery, that might have been this year, matter of fact. The days and weeks and months go by so fast, I can't really remember. But the robbery, his bling nature and all that stuff made this a very important story to cover. Now, before I go any further, here's an article from New York Times. And of course, this article will be in the description if you want to read it for yourself. But you can see my man right there. Look at this. Look, it's ridiculous. What's this? Is this Gucci? Okay, a Gucci suit in the pulpit. This is ridiculous. Now, I'm not against guys making money legitimately. Number one, legitimately, key word, legitimately. If you make money legitimately and you want to spend it how you want to spend it, okay. But come on, in the church like this, in the pulpit like this, that's kind of ridiculous. You might as well drive a Rolls Royce onto the actual pulpit stage and preach from the Rolls Royce. You might as well with a bullhorn. Anyway, Gucci suit, all kind of expensive jewelry. You see the ring right there on his finger. You see it. I don't see the watch in this one, but he has, nice big watch, ring. Those frames he has on are probably very expensive as well. So bling pastor, showing off your wealth. Probably ill-begotten gains. I'm not surprised that he's being hit with a fraud charge. But you see the headline before you: Brooklyn pastor arrested on charges of defrauding a member of his flock. So not only is he being accused of fraud again, the same thing he was locked up before, the same thing that he was accused of and got locked up for before. So it wasn't an accusation, oh, maybe he did it, it's a rumor. No, he got locked up and he served a sentence for fraud back in the day. So he's just kind of continuing the same thing here, allegedly. But you see the subhead, Lamar Whitehead, famous for designer suits and jewels, had himself been the victim of a brazen, quote-unquote, armed robbery. Now he faces an array of federal financial fraud charges. Let's look at the article and get some more detail about what's happening. Okay, so they're talking about how he was victim of a robbery. Was that last summer or this summer? Again, I can't really remember. But anyway, he was arrested on Monday, charges of fraud, extortion, and lying to federales, to the federal authorities. Federal prosecutors in Manhattan said Bishop Whitehead solicited money from victims, including a retired parishioner. And if you don't know what that is, I guess that's somebody from his church flock. If that's incorrect, y'all let me know in the comments. Through threats or false promises of enriching them and then kept the money for himself. That's a typical street guy. I know a lot of guys like that from Brooklyn, and shout out to all the Brooklynites, all the New Yorkers. I'm not trying to say all you guys are scammers and fraudsters. There's a lot of that going on down here in Atlanta or in the ATL metro area as well. So I'm just saying, I know a lot of guys like that. They'll say, hey, you got $5,000, $10,000. I can take that money and flip it. If you give your money to this guy and expect positive results, I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. You can buy it straight from me. I promise it'll be legitimate and won't be no problems. I'll give you a bridge in Brooklyn right now for $10,000. Okay, if you believe that guy will flip your money. But anyway, So his lawyer, Don Florio, said, quote, Bishop Whitehead denies these allegations and we are going to fight them vigorously, unquote. He was expected to appear in federal court in Manhattan on Monday afternoon. Bishop Whitehead, 44, was thrust into the public eye because of the whole robbery thing at his church, Leaders of Tomorrow International Ministries in Brooklyn. So 2 guys did get charged in federal court for the robbery in September. All right. So we'll see. And let's continue here. In spring 2022, according to the indictment until Monday, Bishop Whitehead tried to persuade a businessman to give him $500,000 and a stake in some real estate transactions. In exchange, Bishop Whitehead promised to secure favorable actions from the city that would make both of them, quote, millions, even though, according to the indictment, he knew he had no ability to deliver on his pledge. Now, the thing about Mr. Whitehead is that Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, is friends with him. So they've been seen together in public. They're in pictures together. They've done events together. They've spoken on the same stage together. So maybe he was able to leverage that relationship with Eric Adams and say, hey, you know what? Give me $500,000 and I can make it worth your while. I know Eric Adams. I know that city person. We can make that money into millions. This is a typical Baltimore City, The Wire. This is typical scammer street stuff. Okay. Now, I don't know who's getting got like this. Personally, I know a lot of these street scammer guys. You could never I would never give these guys 1 red cent of my hard-earned money because I know I will not get it back. I won't get the 1 red cent back, let alone a return on the 1 red cent. But a lot of people aren't really street savvy. They don't understand how this whole thing goes. He will keep your money for himself and buy a brand new Gucci suit with the flip-flops and the socks to match. All right, but I digress. Let's keep on going here. While the indictment does not name any city officials or specify any actions, the bishop has previously claimed a friendship with, again, Eric Adams. On Monday, a spokesman for the mayor pointed toward comments Mr. Adams has made in July in which he acknowledged relationship with the bishop, but said, no one's above the law. All right. So that's that, meaning, yeah, that's my friend, but he can get locked up too. How about that? Early in Bishop Whitehead's relationship with the unnamed businessman, the cleric also used threats of force to get $50,000 from a business the businessman owned, prosecutors said. At the direction of law enforcement officials, the businessman made the payment according to the indictment. Oh, really? So maybe they were trying to build a case. It's like, all right, look, make the payment, go ahead and do that, and then continue the relationship. If you're going to get them on a bigger crime, I'm not sure how that makes any sense, because if they tell them to make the payment, are they going to reimburse them for $50,000? If the police tell you, hey, make that paying $50,000, do you get any cash back? I'm wondering how that really works. But anyway, the charges related to the retired church member the parishioner, were initially revealed in a 2021 lawsuit filed in Brooklyn in an investigation into the bishop's wealth. In 2020, the woman who had recently visited the church was recovering from surgery. Prosecutors said Bishop Whitehead offered to help her buy her new home, and the woman, Pauline Adams, 56, sent him $90,000 that she had withdrawn from a retirement account, according to a lawsuit. So you're talking about a woman who's advancing in age, not elderly, but not young either, a church lady. You took almost $100,000 from her retirement account and bucked on her, meaning kept money for yourself. I mean, come on. Like, I could understand if you're a street guy robbing street guys. You guys are just victimizing each other. Who cares, right? Street guy on street guy. But you're a street guy robbing church ladies. I mean, and you are the pastor. Talk about gross. But anyway, quote, I'm a man of integrity and you will not lose, he texted her. She asked for her money back, but he said it was too late as it had already been invested, quote unquote, invested. The false statement count arises from an encounter with FBI agents during investigation into his conduct. According to the indictment, the agents executed a search warrant for the bishop's mobile phones, and he had told them he only had one when he, in fact, had a second phone. So there's more here. Again, if you want to read this whole thing, I'll link to it in the box. Oh, here's one last thing. Okay, here's one last thing. They're talking about, let's read this part right here because it's pretty important. When he emerged in 2013, he immediately founded his church based on the prosperity gospel, which emphasizes benefits of accumulating wealth while worshiping God. He wore designer suits and drove luxury vehicles. This was after he had already been locked up for fraud back in '04. Okay, at least one particular case. He may have had more than one case that he had been locked up for. Not just accused, not just a rumor, charged and convicted and served time for fraud. Anyway, in 2019, he stopped making payments on his Mercedes-Benz and the Range Rover in New Jersey, leading to a $68,000 judgment against him. That same year, he wrote a bad check for $164,000 to the company that built his home in Paramus, New Jersey, according to a lawsuit. So this guy, I mean, obviously is a scammer, the typical Brooklyn scammer. Not saying all Brooklyn lights are going to be scammers, but these guys exist, like the Atlanta scammers, the Vegas, New York. That's him. But it's to another level when you put the church involved with it. This is part of the reason why guys kind of are falling away from church. You got some really good church members, some good pastors, some good whatever out there, church leaders, ministers, really good guys out there. But guys like this just make the whole experience kind of get sullied for everyone. It's really unfortunate. Hopefully this guy goes to jail again and he doesn't come home anymore. He could be like 20 years in the penitentiary. Whatever the sentence is, please serve all of that, sir. You already been locked up before. You give an opportunity. People say, you know what? I'll look past this past. I'll give him a chance right now. And you do what? Take money from a church lady, 100 grand from a church lady, extorting businesses. And that robbery, was it real? Was it fake? I can't tell at this point. It probably was real because they know how you operate and they don't really respect you because they know you take it from your parishioners. So it's like, look, it might have been a whole rob from the corrupt and give back to some more corrupt. Who knows? But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about this Bling Bling pastor getting indicted on some fraud charges? Are you surprised? Is it vindication for you? You probably thought he was a fraudster from the beginning. I mean, again, he had already been locked up for fraud. You see all the jury and whatnot. You see the whole sketchy robbery. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys should know where I'm at. I'm not really surprised. You know, when the robbery happened, I was like, okay, he probably got robbed because he's too flashy, too much of a bling bling guy. But I didn't really think he was engaging in the fraud again. Well, I kind of thought it a little bit in the back of my mind. I'm like, all right, where's the money coming from? You're engaging in real estate and you got a church, but how are you able to afford all these big jewelry pieces? Okay, Range Rover, Rolls Royce. How are you able to afford all these things with just being involved in New York real estate and having a church? What's really going on? I think we now see what's happening. You taking money from people, talking about, you know what, I'll flip it. I'll give you a big return on investment. And rather than doing that, you go straight to the jury man and buy a brand new piece, put it on your wrist to attract the next victim. That's what's going on. Really gross. You need to get put up under the Jamaican big rocks into little rocks. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.